Hey guys, in this video I'm going to explain how every single Cryo user got their vision in Genshin, as well as compare it to what I believe is its equivalent Sephiroth in the Tree of Life. However, if you need more context as to how Sephiroths work beyond that, you could look at my first video of this set, which is the Dendro version. Anyway, let's just jump right into it. So what exactly is this Sephiroth in Gnosticism and the Tree of Life? It is supposed to be understanding. It's about seeing things from a higher perspective and fleshing it out, formulating a story. It's supposed to be form, limitation. It's supposed to be logical, analytical, and organized. Its egotistical desire in Genshin, however, I am not aware of at this moment because they have not told us yet. However, we can speculate, seeing how the other Sephiroths do align with their counterpart vision so far pretty accurately. So it's safe to assume that something along the lines of understanding is what it's likely going to be in Genshin. One important thing I want to note really quick before I explain how you unlock this vision, because sure, it does tell you in the first video, which I said go look at the Dendro video if you don't have this context, but for this one it's really more crucial for you to understand this point. Whatever your soul is resonating to, that's the vision that you would unlock if you were able to unlock any vision at all. It would be that one, the one that your soul's already resonating with. The key action or thought that you need to unlock this Sephiroth or vision, it's supposed to simply be joy, which may sound ridiculous to every other type of resonating soul. However, for Cryo people in particular, the people that already resonate with this, they don't have joy in their life. That's the whole point of it. So them accumulating this joy while already resonating with this Sephiroth is what then grants you the vision. So not every type of person is just gonna get this for being happy. However, someone whose entire life has been depressing up to this point of them acquiring this vision, they don't have joy. So if you pretty much look at the theme, you're gonna assume that this is like about being like an ice queen where you isolate yourself, you don't have feelings and whatever. That's not what this is. It's kind of, but it's not exactly how this is. This is more like you understand the world, how it is. You understand the rules, you understand the god, you understand the archons, you understand people, and you understand that all of this has darkness in it. All of it is cruel and evil, and it's like against you. And it makes you distrust it. It even makes you dislike it. You may dislike people and distrust people. And it makes you put on armor. So it's not that you don't have a heart or that your heart is cold. It's that you have so many layers of armor that it's hard for people to get to your heart. And they may not even think you have one, but it's there. And again, you became this way because you were mistreated, because the world didn't show you kindness. All you had was pain and struggle and grief. Like, I've dreaded making this video because I know that all of their stories are going to be really depressing, and it does affect me. Even the Cryo Archon, which I don't know anything about, they're going to have this kind of mentality when they finally are revealed in the future. Again, it's not that they're just naturally cold and evil or emotionless or whatever. No, it's they're wearing armor to protect themselves because they know what the world is like. They know what people are like, and they don't want to feel that pain. However, all of this is just the resonance that it takes to be in the qualifications to possibly get a Cryo vision in the future. But you still need the action or the thoughts to actually acquire the vision, which is joy. So the point is, you're supposed to understand that the world is dark. And you may be like, the world is not dark. Not everyone's like that. You have to understand that this is based on Gnosticism, and Gnosticism is saying that the world is dark, our God is evil, and so on. And everything's rigged against us. So yeah, our world is supposed to be a struggle. It's supposed to be rigged against us. So you understanding all of this would be the correct conclusion. However, if you can see past that, if you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, you can see that behind the darkness there is light. That is when you gain gnosis. That is when you would get the spiritual enlightenment, and that is when a vision is granted. Again, not for everyone, but just for people that are resonating already with the Cryo vision itself. When they get this enlightenment, then a vision does materialize for them. Now, with all that context out of the way, how exactly did each Cryo user get their vision in the first place? First, let's start with Qiqi. So when Qiqi was in her mortal life and she was really young, she was just out gathering herbs, but she accidentally stumbled into a domain, I believe, and adapt this domain. However, she wasn't aware of any of this. She was just inside of a cage patching up her leg because she had injured it. But then is when she heard some kind of sounds that weren't normal mortal sounds. So since she's a young, curious child, she was curious. She went to go see what it was. However, she ended up right in the middle of two clashing forces, which were the Adeptus and demons. And even though both sides realized that she was harmless and not part of this and an innocent in all of this, she, however, got caught in the crossfires of these AoE blasts and stuff like that, which it gave her a vision, sure, but it also ended her life because of this very reason. But let's backtrack a little bit. So what exactly triggered in her mind for her to get this vision? Because it was a mental thing, because it's supposed to be joy, right? So how could anyone have joy in this moment? Well, she's a young, imaginative girl, and all she was thinking about in this moment is that she fears death. She wants to live. She wants to go back to her happy life. She wants to go to her family, and she wants to turn back time. And her imagining this in her mind, that all of this would be possible in this most traumatic moment, it did bring her joy, and that is what gave her a cryo vision. However, it still wasn't enough to save her life, so she still ended up dying. However, the Adeptus, they couldn't stomach this. This was really hard to witness, so they each gave a bit of their power in hopes it would bring her back. However, since they were just in the heat of battle and they're still a bit frenzied, I think this mentality transferred into her and it made her berserk when she was resurrected. So they ended up sealing her in some ember, which she remained in for hundreds of years, which means her family may have never found out what actually happened to her, which is horrible from my point of view. As well as when she came out the ember, she's not gonna have her family there. Like, that is very horrible to me. Anyway, when some people found her in the future, encased in the ember, they took her to the funeral home so she get a proper burial. But she woke up sometime in the middle of the night and she just escaped, and she went back to living her normal life, because that's the mentality that she has, doing the things she used to do before. It's natural to her. So she went back to going to pick herbs, and that's when she was discovered by Baiju, which then felt so sorry for her. He had to take care of her, which I completely understand. I think any Dendro person would be completely compelled to have to take care of her, which may be why Yao Yao loves her so much. Like, she has to remain her best friend and constantly there for her because she needs it. Anyway, I just realized that I have a lot more cryo characters to go through, and I can't make this video too long, so the rest of the stories are going to be a lot shorter. Next, Shinha. So when Shinha was 5 years old, her mother died, and her father got so depressed by this that he went off. He just disappeared for a year, so she lost both parents. She had nothing. She had no one. But then one day he came back, and she was excited that she got her father back. Like, he's here. It's a joyous thing. But in reality, he was just slipping further and further into depression and into madness. He had discovered a way to bring his wife back, but he needed a sacrifice. He needed a tribute. So he was going to tribute his 5-year-old daughter, or 6-year-old daughter at this time's life, to bring the mother back. So he took Shinha to a cave to sacrifice her, and then he abandoned her there. And when this demon-like creature appeared to take her soul, she was no longer having it. She was so furious. It turned her soul cold. It made her so infuriated that she was not going to let herself fall. She gripped tightly her Memento Mori, her mother's exorcism dagger, and she was not going to let it kill her. She fought with everything she had for days versus this creature as a small little child. One good question, why didn't Shinha get an electrovision in this moment? Because she is extremely unyielding in this moment. It's because of her resonance. She understood what was going on here completely. So obviously she has the correct resonance, but how did she get joy in this moment? It's actually because she wanted to inflict wrath upon her opponents. She wanted vengeance. She wanted everyone else to suffer for the things that she had to suffer for. And this is what gave her joy. This is what gave her a vision, and this is what kept her alive. Next is Rosaria, and Rosaria was taken in by a bandit gang when she was really young. However, they fell onto hard times at one point, and she was barely getting enough to eat. However, she was working really hard, but she was working really hard for nothing. So she tried to run away. She tried to escape, but they brought her back. She obviously wanted to get out of this group, but she couldn't. She ended up having to fight the very person who raised her, the bandit leader. She ended up killing this person, even though they were like her father figure, her role model, whatever. Like, that was her only way out. She had to do what she had to do, and this is what granted her the cryo vision. Next is Kamisato Ayaka. Ayaka seems to have been the normal child, having fun, being happy and stuff like that. However, there came a point where her mother got really sick, and she was pretty much bedridden for the rest of her life until she died. This caused her brother to have to pretty much take on the entire responsibility of their family and their name on by himself, to hold up that title and stuff like that, and to pretty much grow up himself and handle everything. Ayaka, seeing this, she didn't want him to have to carry that burden by himself, so she figured she has to take on responsibility herself and basically lose her childhood and just grow up from that moment on to actually help him and to help the family name and so on. Ayaka then, trying to take on the role that society expects from her, she took on poetry and swordsmanship. However, she wasn't a natural at either of these things, so she had to try way harder than everyone else just to be decent, and she didn't want to be decent. She wanted to be exceptional, to actually have people, you know, look at her family with respect. Anyway, at one point when she actually started to get really good, she was in her dojo training and she beat her opponent with a single blow. This is the moment where she actually obtained the vision, and I think it's because she feels joy that she's actually fulfilling the role that she felt that she needed to in the absence of her mother and her father. Next is Kaeya, and Kaeya is basically an undercover agent for Khaenri'ah, the fallen Khaenri'ah, that is. However, he was taken in and adopted by Diluc's father, who raised him. So this left Kaeya kind of torn up to the day where Diluc's father was actually killed, and he felt extremely guilty about this, and he ended up confessing everything to Diluc. Diluc, infuriated and feeling betrayed and so on, made him lash out in a fury, and he attacked Kaeya. But in this very fight, it actually brought joy to Kaeya. Maybe it's because his stepbrother is attacking him and therefore he feels that he deserves this punishment, so it brought him joy, or that just revealing the truth actually lifted that burden of guilt somewhat, and it brought him some semblance of joy, and that's when his vision materialized. Next is Diona, and Diona's kind of like a bartender, even though she's a child. What she tries to do is persuade people from stopping their drinking habits to stop being alcoholics. This is her intention, but she fails miserably because people love her drinks. But regardless, how did she get her vision? So it was one stormy day where there was like a hurricane or something like that had been in the area for like 3 days. However, her father was out in a hunting trip for like the entire time. He hasn't come back yet, and they couldn't send a search party out looking for him because of the storm. This filled Diona with dread, the worry, the fear of not knowing, is he okay? Is he out there hoping somebody's gonna save him this very moment, or is he already dead or something like that? This is driving her crazy, and somebody has to go out there and save him, but they can't. So she's just like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. Somebody has to do it, I'm going to do it. So she just burst out the door to go rescue her father. The moment she burst out the door and started to run in the rain, she already had gotten her vision. She just didn't realize it at that second, that the rain around her is crystallizing into ice, because she had already obtained her vision. Anyway, she did end up tracking down, finding and rescuing her father, and probably scolding him for being a drunken loser. So from the moment she started to go out the door, she must have already known that she was going to be able to track him down and find him and rescue him, and probably even punish him, and this filled her with joy. That's why she got the vision. Next is Ganyu, and she took part in the Archon War without being an Archon, which is pretty amazing from my point of view. But anyway, she's a war veteran, obviously. Anyway, she made a contract with Leeway, and this is what granted her vision, just making a contract with her. And some may wonder why. It's because she finally has a new purpose. She has a new reason. Before this, she didn't know what to do next. She didn't know where to go next. The war is over, and that's all she had known for so long. What now? But now she has a home. Now she has a place. Now she has people that need her. She has responsibilities. This gives her purpose, and this gave her joy, and this is why she got a vision. Next is Eula, and Eula was basically discriminated against because of her family, because of her clan. You see, they have a certain way that they speak, a certain etiquette to them, because they have a certain mentality. It means different stuff to them than it means to the rest of people. So they misunderstand, and they judge, and then they criticize and look down upon, and so on. So this led her to having a rough life because she's not accepted by anyone, pretty much. However, one person did choose to be kind to her, and they tried to show her how to see things from a different perspective. This was Amber's grandfather, by the way. Anyway, her believing in this guy and actually following his teaching and seeing things from a different viewpoint gave her the enlightenment she needed, gave her a different perspective of life, and it filled her with just a little bit of joy because of this, and this is what granted her a vision. Next is Layla. So Layla is an extremely hard worker. Like, she studies so hard that she gets absolutely no sleep at all, and even when she does fall asleep, like, her mind is not even able to rest, so she starts to sleepwalk and work while she's sleepwalking. Anyway, even though she's really intelligent, she works really hard, she's usually the last person to hand in her work because she just over checks it so many times to make sure everything's absolutely perfect, flawless, and correct. So how exactly did she obtain her vision? Well, what happened was one day one of her professors just skimmed through her work and dismissed her argument, saying these claims are not the way it is. People smarter than you have said it's this, so it's this. Who are you to question this? You fail, this is wrong, blah blah blah. And it kind of pissed her off, which she normally has a cool temper, but she would not let this go. She basically responded with even more paperwork. She filed so many reports about this, like trying to prove her points, but he still didn't care or believe it. He just pinned it to the work she already had given in, but she wasn't going to yield, and he wasn't going to ever like actually read it all. So she was gonna end up failing because this is part of her grade. If she doesn't pass this paper, she's going to fail, kind of thing. But she's not gonna let it go because she believes so strongly that she is correct. So then some time passes and the professor comes to her and he reveals that some independent studies have been going on, and it turns out that her theory was in fact right all along. And this is an independent study that has nothing to do with her paper. It turned out that she was right all along, and he should have probably read her stuff. Anyway, he then praises her for not yielding and, you know, doing this for the pursuit of knowledge, to question and test everything, even if it's a widely accepted belief that everyone's following and they accept. Question it, look at it, test it. Is it actually reality, or is it just a misconception that has been going on for too long? This is what an actual intellectual would be doing, and this is what she did. So he praised her for this, and he said that every year less and less students are like this, so he really appreciates her. This praise and acknowledgement and even validation from the studies proving that she was actually correct was exactly what she needed to grant her a cryovision. Next, and finally, at least for now, is Chongyun, and he was born into a prestigious family of exorcists, and so he wanted to be an exorcist as well. He's kind of like a prodigy. He has so much yang energy in him that it kind of repels ghosts and demons and stuff like that, which really frustrates him because he never gets to be face to face with them and actually perform exorcism on them. He actually got his vision by declaring that one day he's going to be one of the greatest exorcists in the world, or at least in Leeway, but he's going to rid the world of evil spirits and demons and so on, and master his yang energy and all this stuff. And just this thought alone brought him enough joy that it granted him a cryovision. Why didn't he get a pyrovision, some may ask? It's because he didn't resonate with pyro, he resonates with cryo, and therefore doing the action it takes to get pyro would do absolutely nothing for him. Just like a pyro person doing the requirements that it takes to get cryo would do absolutely nothing for them. Next, since we don't actually know about the cryo archon at this moment in time of me making this video, I'm going to talk about the egotistical desire of what cryo should be. Again, the egotistical desires are what the archons fixate on, and that's what most people would assume is what that Sephiroth or vision is about. However, it misleads you and it causes you to focus so much time and attention on that point that you never actually see reality and see what's the actual point to obtaining this vision or Sephiroth. So this one, like I said before, is understanding. And yes, you can understand that the world is dark and that our God is evil and that people are cruel and that the world's about suffering. Yes, and that in turn would make you a miserable person. You would be depressed, or you would put armor on just like all these characters and stuff like that. Why this ends up being an egotistical desire and prevents people from obtaining this vision is because sometimes those that accumulate too much knowledge and data, they feel that they're right about stuff because they know more, and then someone with less intelligence, they can't possibly be right, like the professor, and you're just gonna dismiss the data, you're gonna dismiss their evidence, you're gonna dismiss their theories because you know better, you study this more, you have more knowledge about this. If you become closed-minded like that, thinking that you know everything about everything, you know how everything's gonna play out, you're missing opportunities, you're missing the chance to experience stuff, and there may be something there you're not seeing, there may be some joy, there may be some light at the end of the tunnel, and you just assume it's pure darkness because that's what your accumulative data has told you so far, but you don't have the full story. Nobody does, unless you're a descender, or else you wouldn't be in this plane. Genshin or Gnosticism. Anyway, that's about it for this one. I know I still got a lot more elements to explain how everybody got their vision and comparing it to its counterpart Sephiroth. But for this one, that's pretty much it. I rambled on long enough. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope to see you next time.